A little more prying with a finger and the mold is free. Ah, it's almost flaw-free. There are no air bubbles to speak of, and the detail is outstanding. The mold is inspected to determine any flaws or if anything is marring the surface. Molding is an art and not a science, and therefore no molds will be absolutely perfect. Before we cast, we must cover the nose holes, as the casting material would run out. Wet out a 4-inch length of plaster bandage and apply it to the nose. Work it well up into the nose holes with your finger. This will save considerable cleanup time later in the final casting. For 4 pounds of castrite, we need 2.96 pounds of water, but let's say it's 3 pounds by weight. The water temperature should range between 70 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 21 to 38 degrees centigrade. There's an art to mixing plaster to have it reach its maximum strength. First, always put the powder into the water and not the other way around. Cast the plaster over the surface and not in one spot. Notice that there's an island of plaster building up on the surface. That indicates that the water is reaching its saturation. Let the island settle underneath the water. Then let the water sit undisturbed for 1 minute to 2 minutes before mixing. Then mix. I use my hands so I can feel for any lumps, and I just squeeze them out between my fingers. The longer the mixing time, the stronger the final casting will be, so continue to mix until the plaster is creamy smooth. When the castrite mix is about the consistency of heavy cream, we are ready to paint it into the face coat, so called as it's the coat that will appear on the face of the cast when it's finished. We use an inexpensive chip brush and begin to paint the surface. The stroking action of the paintbrush will push out any air on the surface that could mar the finish. I also open up the ear area and get that covered. If your mix is too thick, you'll often find that the ear is not adequately covered and air traps will result. As the castrite thickens, continue the painting. Next, I pour the castrite into the ear cavity, and with a slight pressure with the brush, I paint over it to force the castrite into the cavity. This will minimize the possibility of air traps. Now the castrite is thickened and able to adhere better to the sides of the mold, so I continue to paint it upwards. It's very important to concentrate on the sides, as these tend to be thinner due to the gravity pulling down on the material. A third and final coat is then applied with the thickened castrite, so that your final casting is about 1/2 to 3/4 inches thick all around. You can demold after waiting about an hour and a half. The castrite, though, is not yet completely dry. That takes 48 hours or so, but strong enough to remove from the mold if you're careful. I find a corner of the first plaster bandage and with careful pressure remove it. Though my hand is on top of the mold, it's there to hold it in place and not to exert any downward pressure, as you may break the casting. If we are lucky, sometimes the bandages can come off all in one piece. But because of the ears, I like to take it off in individual pieces to minimize possible damage. Once the bandages are off, the fibergel surface is now fully exposed. I remove it carefully. Oh, that ear is perfect. Oops, I broke the ear. Yep, ears are difficult. I'll need to repair that later with some super glue. Every casting will need cleanup and a repair or two. I use dental tools to clean up the mouth and also to dig out the nostrils. There's a few small air bubbles which show up as warts. They simply pop off because the castrite is not fully set. Later I'll use my Dremel tool to smooth the edges, and then I'll attach the ear with the super glue. And there it is.